Well, I'm not too sure who else is going to be here, so why don't we go ahead and get
I
started.
think Rose is going to be coming soon.
Okay.
Off work, so.
Any idea about how long? Like in a minute? Well, we probably can get through some of the preliminary stuff, at least initially. So I'll go ahead and the meeting of the Fairbanks North Star Borough School District Diversity Committee is called to order. I believe we have a quorum present, even if we don't need one. The date's November 29th, 2018, and the time is about 5:32 in the evening. We're meeting in the school board room at the Fairbanks North Star Administration Building at 525th Street, Fairbanks, Alaska 99701. We do have Joanne Van Flettering sitting in for Michael Angayak. Joanne is the principal at Midnight Sun Elementary School.
Correct.
Let's go ahead with the roll call. Shayna Lund, would you go ahead and read the roll call?
Maxine. Dibbert.
Not here.
Sharon McConnell.
I'm here.
Laura Roddy. Here. And for Michael Angayak, he's excused, but we have Joanne filling in. Carrie Bragonier. Here. Brianne Gray. Jazanne Gordon-Fretwell. Rose O'Hara Jolly. Alyssa Clinton.
Here.
Elizabeth Holm. Here. Marilyn Russell.
I'm thinking she was excused.
Okay, yeah. Yep, she emailed me. Okay,
yeah.
Thank you. Ashley Strauch. She's here. And Kenya Edwards.
All right. Let's go ahead and move to the agenda. Are there any additional agenda items? There was a last-minute change in terms of what I put down as reports, and that is I have invited Rodney Gaskin, and he and I will do a little presentation, a little discussion about the NCBI update. I talked about that during the last meeting. But other than that, are there any corrections to the agenda? Any additions to the agenda? Hearing nothing, let's go ahead and move forward. The agenda is approved. Now let's move over to the minutes of September 27, 2018. Were there any corrections that needed to be made to these minutes? Not hearing any. Let's go ahead and vote for approval of the minutes. All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. We'll just take a moment to welcome Jazane.
Apologize for being late.
All right. At this point, I wanted to go ahead and invite Rodney Gaskins up here. Now, Rodney is the executive director for the Fairbanks Rescue Mission. Also works with the school district on a number of diversity, equality, inclusion issues. And one of the things that he has been tasked to help us with at the district is the National Coalition Building Institute initiative that we're getting ready to start. I mentioned this during the last meeting that we had, that we went through training back in, how long ago was that? October? Can you push the mic closer to you? Thank you. And so we're getting ready to kind of begin the rollout of this. The rollout will include, at this point, 2 steps along the way. First is that we're going to have, how would you describe what's going to happen in, I think it's March, Rodney?
I'm trying to remember what it's called exposure workshops. And, the exposure workshops, it's almost a scaled down version of what we went through in the beginning of end of October, beginning of November, and it's really to understand more the approach of how to kind of roll out and get a deeper understanding and excitement, in a sense, towards the issues of diversity, the issues of inclusion, and moving towards the train-the-trainer, and just to roll out the entire curriculum, in a sense.
And what it basically is, it's a way of trying to reach across barriers, cultural barriers. And when we say cultural barriers, it's not just race, sex, national origin. It could be barriers because of affluence versus poverty. It could be barriers between people with high educations and those who haven't finished high school. All those types of barriers we're trying to roll out to begin this program that we can use within the district, as well as we hope it can roll into the community. Rodney, can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, even when we went down, 6 of us went down, and no one really knew what to expect, because they held a hand pretty close to their chest. They really didn't tell us, because we even tried to probe to find out how we could prepare to go down. And I don't know if that was part of their strategy for us to not overthink it or to dive too far into a different direction. But for me, day one was just amazing, and it just got better day by day. I come from the nonprofit world, and I come from the military, so I had a lot of diversity trainings in the military, but it was nothing like this. And even the group that went down from Fairbanks was diverse, and I don't think it was really strategic. But when we got down there, the first thing that they did in the class was really start to identify how diverse this group of 25 was. And part of me getting on board with this project is because I grew up in the 70s in Washington, D.C., and born in the 60s, and I've never seen racism and discrimination since I was a kid. And so I've been approached, for answers and been probed for my opinion. And I really, not that I didn't feel qualified to speak or share my opinion, I really didn't feel heard. And I really felt that my opinion was used to really more of a consensus, but not really of a way of changing mindsets. But in this approach with the NCBI, it's not about changing their thoughts, it's about changing their hearts through the telling of stories. And that's something that really spoke to me because in my culture, we're storytellers. That's how my history's passed on. If we don't have a lot of pictures and documents, it's the sharing of stories. And so with this diverse group, and you may have an opinion of the larger group, but hearing the pain of one person's story, it kind of opened my eyes to a better understanding of the larger group and a greater understanding of how connected we are, and discrimination is just pure discrimination. And when we allow it to happen in one area, we're opening the doors, or we're justifying it and allow it to happen in other areas. And so I watched this group. I think the biggest thing that I saw when people sharing their stories, they were sharing them from a point of despair, and they were finishing them in a point of hope. And it was the acceptance of that we see you, we see you, and more than that, we feel you. And to think that someone caused you that type of pain, I don't want to inflict that type of pain on anyone. And so it made us, everyone, I believe, rethink even the small comments or the small opinions or even the things that we that go unchecked, that we allow to happen, you know, the jokes that we don't challenge. And one of the things that happened, and we went out, the last day we went out to dinner, it was Yadibe and another gentleman from Hawaii and myself. And the guy at the restaurant made this racist Alaska Native joke. And my first, I looked at Yadibe, and she just shook her head, and I thought, no, I'm not going to tolerate this. And so I said something to him, and he tried to joke it off a little bit. None of us laughed. And then he came back around and he apologized. And he said, I hope that my ignorance don't stop you from coming back. This is a great restaurant. I'm sorry for what I said. And so it really not just gave me the courage to speak up, because in my personality, I would have always spoke out, but I probably wouldn't have been as kind, to be honest. I would have probably confronted him in a way to make him not want to say that again. And so it gave me an opportunity to see him as well, and not just the pain that I watched him inflict on my friend. I realized that he was probably speaking out a point of ignorance or a point of pain himself. And so it gave me the opportunity to give him the benefit of the doubt and give him an opportunity to address it. And so, like I say, I just watched hope. And the group that came back, you know, the 6 of us, we were talking all along, and we were so excited to bring this back because initially I thought this could make a huge impact on the school district. But by the end of the conference, I realized this could make a huge impact in Fairbanks. And because everyone that from our small group that went away, they wanted to come back because they felt empowered to share this information because they believe in the approach to make change. So,
one of the things that Kate LeBlanc said is that not only does it help people reach across the cultural lines, but she's actually looking at it in terms of as a teacher, because of course she was a kindergarten teacher, and she's like, this is a great way, a great skill for the teachers to have, to be able to break down barriers with the kids. And as we know, that's often half the battle of communicating with students. So I do appreciate Rodney coming by. Did anybody have any questions for Rodney at this point? So what we're going to do is in March, NCBI is coming out to do training for about 40 to 50 people, and that'll be kind of a core group. There are going to be 2 training sessions. Then we're going to kind of roll this out beginning of next school year, because after March, things get a little crazy within the school district, and we want to be able to make sure that we've got everything in place. But of that core group of 40 to 50, we're hoping to be able to get a good number of people who are really committed to this so that we can roll it out. And then 2, 3, 4 people who are trained in this can then take it further and have their own groups all across the school district and potentially reaching out into the community as well in terms of the local police, the emergency responders, general population out there. Mm-hmm. So, Rodney, I appreciate you taking the time and coming over here to talk. Oh, did you? Carrie, did you have a question?
Yeah, I'm embarrassed to say I didn't hear what NCBI stands for.
National Coalition Building Institute.
Okay.
They're world-renowned. They've been doing this type of training and work all over the world for 30-some-odd years. They've been to places like Northern Ireland, to South Africa, to Israel, real hot spots, and trying to teach people how to do this. They have a network across the U.S., mainly in colleges, is that right?
I believe so, yeah.
Mainly based around large universities where they have centers set up of people who are well trained in this.
You know, this group is called in, like David said, to a lot of hotspots to do conflict resolution, you know, for governments, for unions. And I think the underlying theme or the underlying approach to this is conflict resolution. It's really being able to, one of the things they talk about, being able to empty your cup before you approach someone so that you don't have two hurt people in a discussion. And so it's just really good. Like I say, the approach, I really believe in the approach because I work in a conflict environment. And so I'm even looking forward to talking to them about in the nonprofit world, you know, just like with my staff or with the domestic violence shelter, because it would be a great approach for people that work in my environment. I could see it in the prison systems. I could see a lot of, you know, being able to approach someone and not bring your own junk into the conversation, but be able to approach them and see them and help them resolve instead of escalating.
Oh, I'm sorry, Flora.
Will there be an application process? How are these 40 to 50 people going to be determined?
We're not sure at this point. This is one of the things that the six of us who went to the training will be working on, especially Kate LeBlanc, myself, and Rodney, trying to figure out who will be in the group of 40 or 50. What we need to do is we need to pick a wide variety of people based on jobs within the school district, so some principals, some teachers, some elementary, some high school, some junior high, some staff, district employees, a wide kind of swath. And each of the two training groups are going to be just that diverse. So we haven't quite figured that out yet. I'm sure that there'll be information coming out probably after Christmas, or after the Christmas holiday, sorry.
This is Flora. I'm definitely interested.
You know, that's one of I think the last things I want to leave with is I would recommend if you guys can be a part of it, be a part of it. You know, do a sit-in, protest, you know, whatever you need to do. You know, get in on it. Because my opinion, one of the reasons why it was so powerful to me, because everyone that went down within our group of 25 in a small group, they were people that their heart was already just where your guys' heart at. They're part of diversity groups and diversity committees. So they're already looking for answers. Their heart's already there. And so I think that with this group of you guys here, that your heart's there, and it'll give you a tool to be even more powerful than you already are. So I would recommend that you be a part of it.
I don't think you need to do sit-downs and protests. Maybe just give me a call.
Not fun.
David, I'm interested.
Do you know the dates in March?
We
It is. It's March the 29th, and I think it's 28th and 29th.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's good.
It's the end of March. It's a 2 day. It's two different sessions. You know, it's a 1 day session, but they're doing it twice.
Did you say it's in D.C. or?
No, it'll be
No,
here.
it's here.
Oh, here.
It's here.
It's all day. We're not too sure where it's going to be, but it'll be very intensive, a full day.
That's after all the Native organizations.
Oh, man.
A lot of meetings.
You know, and I was looking over my notes today, and like David was saying, we went at the end of October, beginning of November, and I'm still processing. it was that powerful to me. I'm still I remember stuff and I write it down, you know, and I'm still processing because it's so powerful, and it just left me hopeful, you know, just left me really hopeful. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Rodney. Appreciate it. Let's go ahead and move on. There was only one report that we needed to talk about, but Carrie just walked away. She'll be back in a sec. This is in regards to the Faces of Fairbanks Subcommittee report. I'll go ahead and start because we did meet on the 15th of November, just a few weeks ago. Carrie, did you want to?
We both grew up in D.C., so.
Okay. Did you want to talk about this, or go ahead?
Sure. So, should I pass this out, or
everybody should have one.
Oh, okay.
It's not.
Oh, not yet.
This came in at the last minute.
Yes, last minute. So Flora, Dave, and I met on November 15th, and we had just a brief meeting. So I'm sure if we had a little more time, we could do more as a subcommittee. But we put forth some ideas, and one of the things that we talked about was Faces of Fairbanks as an opportunity for recruiting. And I don't know if you want to explain that a little bit, but the opportunity to use the school district's website and have Faces of Fairbanks as a link on the school district's website could be an interesting opportunity for getting diverse applicants to come to Fairbanks.
Well, yeah, one of the things that the school district, and Sharon, you can add to this, is we're revamping the website. I guess we finally realized that it's rather antiquated and kind of hard to use. Hard to navigate. And so we're revamping it. So at this point, within my purview is going to be an EEO-style web page, a Title IX web page that deals with discrimination based on sex within the education arena. And then we can have offshoots to things like Faces of Fairbanks. Now, we may be able to link it directly into maybe the front page of it, but it would, because we had talked about maybe coming up with a Facebook or some other web-based platform for it. And this came out, I guess, after our meeting, and we thought it might be a good avenue.
So after we discussed that, we talked about, Flora had the idea that maybe we could even start with diversity committee members and profile some of us as just a good place to start. And then other employees in the school district could be profiled, and the advantage that could do is provide us a little more time to seek permissions for getting students on the web page. That's a little bit more complicated. So yeah, we could start with us or start with other school district employees. We talked about photographs and the idea of getting a student who's studying photography to maybe be the one to take the portrait pictures, but they don't have to be portraits. Excuse me. They could be action shots or some other kind of interesting artsy things. So it would be an opportunity to showcase more than just the people, but also the people behind them. And then because I have a linguistics background, we talked about a blurb, and a little story or some kind of bio about the person that could have cultural, I said linguistic details if they speak other languages, career details, stories that maybe connect to diversity and our support for diversity. And then Dave mentioned that the overall idea behind the project would be to eliminate barriers and increase empathy, which is a thread through our work. Eliminating barriers, that's something we talk about in the McKinney-Vento program for homeless students. How do we knock down barriers so that they have the same opportunities as other students? And then I just, out of curiosity, was looking at the Humans of New York website.
One of the upsides with doing it this way is that we do actually have people who know how to do kind of web design in the district, and so we can maybe tap into, they can assist us with this. Ashley, did you have something you wanted to?
I just had a couple questions. I wasn't there for the planning meeting. I was out of town last week, so I apologize. But just a couple process things. Do we need to utilize a different spot on the website, or can it be on the front page of the district website?
I'm not sure at this point. What they're trying to do is they're trying to make everything very easy to use. So it may be a link. What they're trying to get away from is 15 clicks to get to someplace. So if we can branch out 1 or 2 clicks, then that's probably something that would be doable.
And it might be beyond the scope of this committee to figure out exactly where this project would go, but if on the district's website there was a link to committees and then to ours and then to this might be, I just worry about connecting it with having to click Title IX as the front page for a project like this. Sort of sends a different message.
Well, and I would think that we should be able to click out of a couple of different header screens. So it could be under EEO, it could be under diversity. I'm not that good at any of that, so.
The other question, I have 2 more questions. The other one was, you had mentioned doing a separate Facebook, and then same question, can we just use the school district's Facebook page to recruit maybe as an event on that page? Or would we need, is there some reason why we would need our own page for this project?
I don't know.
That's
something that we can look into.
My feedback would be, I think more people would use it and understand what it was if it was just coming from the district. And the district gets pretty good feedback when they say post a picture of your kid on the first day of school, those kind of things. So it might be a good place to put it, or as a separate event on the page would be really good. And then the other question I had was for a photo student, my only question there was transportation related, and whether we had thought yet about how that student would get around the district, like using the example if they were at Hutch, how would we get them to elementary schools and other schools or wherever they're needing to go for pictures? And then as a follow-up alternative to that kind of structure, potentially having schools sign up and sort of designate a student or a teacher or whoever to be the point of contact for that school potentially, just as another option. Because I just worry about transportation. If you just have one student, I'd worry you'd get a lot of pictures from one school and not a lot of pictures from the others.
And one student isn't enough. We want to give the opportunity to maybe more people to be involved.
Elizabeth, did you have something?
I did, yeah. Just looking over this, I know
Well, you got to get it pretty close.
All right. Can everyone hear me?
There we go.
Okay. I had expressed to David a little bit of another direction maybe we could go with this, not because it's not an awesome idea. And so I have potential to get very excited about this and talk very quickly, so I'm going to try to pace myself and try to make sense, because I feel like the potential is so endless. And so what I had expressed to David is, how would I approach this in my own home, and as a homeschooler, how do we explore diversity? And we do it through geography and heritage. And so one way, maybe in a different direction that we could take this whole project, and maybe I can meet on the subcommittee to talk about it, is that you would choose a continent each month. So how many months is in a school year? Is it 7 or 8 months?
Cover everything except
9
for
months.
nothing in June and 10 months.
Yeah.
10 months.
Part
10
of
months.
10 months.
Okay, because it would be fun to have, so if you had, like, Antarctica would be your first month, because there's not a lot there. And then the second month would be your Alaska month, and then, you know, you'd have an entire month dedicated to Asia, an entire month dedicated to Europe, an entire month, and you would have students who would sign up to be on Diversity Club. Okay, so it would be a student-led club that has a teacher who's sponsoring, right? That's the way it works in public schools. You have to have a teacher sign on, right? So maybe, depending on that club, they would meet during lunch. Maybe they'd meet 5 days a week, and they would just totally delve in, because you can get so lost in culture out of passion that that group would never forget. One of the things, so for Alaska month, and I was reflecting with some of my childhood friends when I was going to Tick Brown and they were going, is we went to the Alaska room. Do you guys remember the Alaska room? And they would have these native elders come in, and they would talk to every student and emotionally connect with them and tell stories of their culture. And we would all get a bar of soap, and we would whittle that soap with our whole heart. Well, I remember that, and they remember that. And so for Alaska month, right, because we need our own month, you could have the native dancers come in and teach them dance. So, you're getting totally immersed into what it is to be not just maybe a native, but maybe the students are interested about the geography, and they want to know, how do all these salmon run through? And so they would just study the life of these salmons and go down to Seward. And so it would depend on the heart of that group, the Midnight Sun kids. Maybe they just like to be read to, and you could there's a curriculum called 5 in a Row. I know you guys have all your own curriculums, but it's so you take a book, and actually I'll use China. So if you did an Asia month with elementary school kids, and you took the story of Ping, okay, and there's all this geography through there and all these Chinese traditions, and you would just immerse these students in this club, because what you're doing is you're trying to change the heart of the people. And so if they ever went to China, they would remember those experiences. And okay, so the grand finale is each month, like in my wildest dreams, this would be it, is that you would get a group that was so passionate, a middle school group or a high school group, okay, and they would host an event, right? So you have Africa month, and they would go and they would find themselves some African recipes, and they would host an event where people come and they try some, maybe some authentic. I mean, we have people from all over Africa here that would offer to cook for us, or Asian food, and they'd offer to cook authentic food. And then they would invite immigrants, direct immigrants from that continent to come and speak. And they would be on a stage, and people would be able to enjoy food together and desserts anyways, or even music, and they would get immersed in Asian music or African music. And so anyway, that's the Faces of Fairbanks that I'm thinking about. And, kind of the easy thing is you would have a bulletin board for that month of that continent, and kids would get a pin, so maybe a blue pin that says, this is me, like I'm from Taiwan, or I'm from Bulgaria, okay, and they would pin it. Then you would get a green pin saying, I so want to go to this country, and I want to go to this country, because you're stirring that up in them to create them to be global leaders. So, all right, that's my 2 cents. Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else have anything to add?
Oh, did we decide when we're doing another subcommittee meeting?
Not yet. I can try to head that up. Decide.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay, and the subcommittee has got, who on it again? It's you and Ashley and Flora. And anybody else on that? Oh.
So, yeah, Ashley, Carrie, Alyssa, Maxine, Flora, so far.
Okay.
That's how, I mean, in the minutes, those are the people, but, yeah, you'd like to be on there, too.
Sure.
Did I see you raising? No, but I thought you were. I thought I saw your hand go up. Did you say you wanted me? No.
We got voluntold.
Sorry, but Elizabeth, you would be interested in being on that subcommittee?
Yeah, if you guys feel like that's maybe something we could talk
Mm-hmm.
add one more thing.
Yeah.
Out of all the different types of events I've planned, or different things, maybe not to this scale, but similar, is it has to be something maintainable for when you leave. So you just have to make sure that if you have a crisis, or if maybe you're just ready to step away, someone else can easily pick up the pieces. So that would be something.
I think that is all the reports, and as far as I am aware, there is no old business, unless someone has some old business that I don't remember. Nope. Okay. Let's go ahead and move into the new business. I will tell you one of the things that's on here is to talk about resolutions for the International Women's Day and for Black History Month. I was told, or we were told, Shana and I, and were you told? Okay. It was in an email that there's already resolutions being put forth for those months. I'm assuming it's like one of those every year things that goes before the board. There may be tweaking, it may be the same resolution. So the question I had was, did anybody feel a need to move forward and draft something else?
The question, if we don't draft something else, can we just renew the previous year's one, just changing the date? Because last year we did International Women's Day for the first time, I think. But Black History Month was not the first time. But there was a group of people that, maybe they didn't totally rewrite it, but they spent time, they met, they wrote, and so, and when I was looking into the resolutions, I was under the impression, I hope I'm wrong, that we had to spend time revising them each year. It would be great if we didn't have to, but can we just change dates and renew? Because most of them are still really good. We don't need to revise the language.
I was just gonna put in 2 cents from what Sharon. Sorry, over here. From my email with Sharon Tuttle, she said that the board, they look at the resolutions from the previous year, and any annual resolutions, they look at it and they assign it to agendas for school board meetings, and they renew it then. So they just kind of look at previous years and add it. So like Black History Month, I asked her, how can we get this? And she's like, oh, it's already on the agenda. So any annual resolutions like that get put on automatically, but other single day resolutions have to be resubmitted, from my understanding. No, International Women's Day is already on the docket.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in terms of Black History Month, I do know that I believe it's the NAACP is doing the essay contest again this year. And for those who are K through 3, I believe it's drawing or coloring contest. The district, a.k.a. me and Shana, we're the ones who are going to be making sure that it's kind of advertised in the schools, that we collect everything and hand it over to the sponsors, which is the NAACP, for them to make their decisions. So that is coming up in February.
Yeah, and they usually come
with the awards. Mm-hmm. So, and there's 3 first, second, and third place awards for each class, for each grade. So there's a lot of awards a lot of kids will be coming.
I love that.
And they're hoping to have a lot more advertisements, so I may be reaching out to people to assist in getting flyers up on the walls, that type of thing. I'm hoping that the principals of the schools will go ahead and do that and just kind of paper the hallways if we can, because this is such a great event, and I'm not too sure what this year's theme is, but for some reason I'm thinking it's moving forward and migration. So whether that's coming to America, whether that's moving from the Deep South up to the Chicago area or up here, I think it's all kind of inclusive with that. The other thing that was on here was the National Disability Awareness Month. I'll leave it to you all. Go ahead.
Hey, sorry I'm late. I got stuck at work, and I apologize. Yeah, so I'd seen that, and I apologize for I can't remember who had initially on our email thread brought up wanting to work on this, but I already had a meeting with Doug Tooley at Access Alaska, so I was like, well. So I met with Doug, and he forwarded me some resources that I can forward to everyone on the committee about an organization, what month that they use nationally, a state resolution that occurred, and a student-led organization. So that's why I don't have anything to present, because I really feel like the community that this speaks for should speak for themselves. And so just like when we had our last resolution, and Alyssa really did a lot of work getting the community involved in writing that to have something that was meaningful and powerful, I feel like that's how the process should work with this, which is just going to take some time. And on the month, though, so March is not National Disability Awareness Month. It's a specific month. I can't remember off the top of my head right now. I apologize. But that wouldn't be inclusive of the entirety of the community. It's just looking at one aspect of the population of that community. And so from my talking with people, that didn't seem like the month that would be best. So also the month that this state organization and national organization uses October. So we could either decide as a Fairbanks community to go with that, or look at something that makes more sense for the Fairbanks community moving forward. So that's.
Yeah, in fact, I was looking at that during the last meeting, and the disability for October, it's Disability Employment Awareness Month, and I'd love to have just the Disability Awareness Month, but I don't know if there's one out there for everybody who has a disability. I think you were mentioning in March, and I think that's people with.
Yeah, I think it's developmental disabilities, which has an age gap, and it's leaving out large portions of the population. So.
But that might be appropriate for the school. If you're talking about developmental disabilities, that's something, but we have till March to think about that. Elisa?
Yeah, so I have been scheduling meetings with about 3 people now who are interested in essentially doing the same thing that we did the last resolution. So I don't really have anything to present from there or in terms of when we should do it. But I do have somebody who is formerly on the board, and a support staff member, and a parent who is like ready to do this. I guess just from preliminary, those people are thinking of more or less honoring the community as a whole and not necessarily focusing on one aspect of it. So I'm not entirely sure which month would be appropriate, and it may be one of those situations in which we ask the community, what months do you want? We just roll with that, which I think is better, because then they can, like, from scratch create something that's ours, and then if it turns into something national, even better. But that's where we are with that. Those meetings are going to start next year because everyone's gone. So we're going to have to wait, but I will let you know if anything changes on that front. But foundation is laid.
Go ahead, Sharon.
So I just want to let the committee know that, the board did meet in a work session on resolutions. And I don't know if any of you heard it or not, but the one thing that came out of that meeting was that the schools, the teachers especially, I guess, really want enough time to plan for activities around these different resolutions, and our last one that we did, we had to get it done on that time, so, but in the future, if we could really plan out way ahead, so they can have ample time to really do a lot of things to support these resolutions, so we just need to keep that in mind. So.
Ask them, so your impression as to how far in advance, are we talking 30 days out?
No, longer than that.
Longer than that?
Because
Okay.
the teachers really need to plan, the schools need to plan, right?
Sure.
So what would you say, librarians, what would you say?
Ordering materials for resources.
3 months maybe out?
I would say,
I
would say at least,
Just to really get the maximum results that we want from these resolutions.
We like to pour our hearts and souls, the teachers do, with the students and get guest speakers and plan, and so we can't give it the best effort. Yeah.
So 3 months in advance to get it in front of the board so that they can vote on it for 3 months down the line.
Yeah, because the schools are aware of the resolutions as they're coming up before the board, so,
And
go ahead, Alyssa.
Maybe something, I don't know if this is against or for protocol, but what we could do is just involve the teachers more in the process while we're doing this, so that, they're aware from the get-go with that.
Yeah, but, I'm just saying that all the schools want ample time so they prepared and they can plan things to support these resolutions.
Right, but just something to do in conjunction with that would be acceptable, not acceptable?
Joanne, you're
sure. Yeah, no, and I don't know about protocol, but I don't think that's what we're asking for, in as much as they do know the resolutions that are coming up. So we see going to be working on it, but if we know enough ahead of time, then they can start doing their classroom orders and if they're making headdresses or whatever they might be doing. I don't think they're asking that they necessarily have to help you out or interfere with the good process. Just put it out there sooner. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Ashley.
I'm just going to take it in another direction real quick. We were talking earlier about trying to pick a month, and honestly, disability issues is such a huge thing, and there are so many different people we're trying to encompass in one resolution. And with the previous resolution we just did, we went through a whole process of figuring out with the board and everything if there's such thing as too many resolutions, and now we know there's not. I kind of almost feel like we should try to think of one resolution for this year to push ahead with. But I almost think, if March is Developmental Disabilities Month, maybe we do a resolution for that, and then we also speak with Access Alaska and some of the stakeholders more and try and find another one too. Because I almost feel like you can't do, not that you can't do too many, I'm not suggesting we do 7 or 8, but two different resolutions maybe. Or
you mean for the disability community specifically? I guess I would say that what we've done with all our other resolutions, like the Latinx community, the Black community, those experiences are just as varied, and we've still decided to amplify those voices and experiences in 1 month.
But we do actually have a couple of different communities in which there's multiple resolutions addressing a similar. We have International Day of the Girl as well as International Women's Day recognized. So we have, I mean, it's not unprecedented that we would have 2 different resolutions.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it. I just I feel like as not a member of that community that I'm going to speak to what that community would want. And I feel like just with the process to the last one that we should have those voices be the ones making the decision and guiding the process about what makes the most sense.
Absolutely. That being said, someone has to sit down and actually write this thing at some point. So where are we at in that process? Do we want to set up a committee for that, or?
So what Doug sent me is a resolution that other school boards have passed using the state board and students from those schools, and he just sent it to me like an hour before. That's why I didn't forward it to you. I didn't want to call him out on the public record, but I wasn't trying to keep it from you.
No, I mean, I guess my thing here is just we want to take into account the diverse opinions, and we want to take into account the community's opinions when we're making a resolution to support them. But we are also on a timeline, and somebody does have to eventually put the whereas clauses together and that kind of thing. So we have to strike a balance there, and I think I'm just trying to make sure we're moving forward.
Elizabeth? Sorry.
If you were interested in doing a subcommittee and maybe taking that as a draft, potentially like the final, I'd be happy. I mean, I would be happy to be on that committee.
I'm not necessarily saying that I have to be on the committee either. I would really like to see something happen this year.
I mean, honestly, I don't really, I'm not opposed to it, but I don't necessarily think that it's necessary either, because unless anybody else on this committee wants to go out into the disability community and, start talking to people and doing that, we just started doing that on our own because we plan to do that. But in terms of like drafting the resolution, I think that how we did it the last time, where we wrote it and then all of us came together and like scrubbed that thing, I think is, essentially what you would do in a subcommittee anyways, but except with everybody. So I think that would probably be more beneficial, because you're getting the whole entire community and communities' opinions on the resolution before we pass anything. So, I mean, if y'all want a subcommittee, I'm not opposed to it, but I also know that it'll get done without it. So.
Well, if we don't do a subcommittee, then I guess my question is, who wants to be the point person for it? You've been working a lot on it. If you want to be the point person.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to. I didn't want to take it from like Alyssa, or I know someone else had expressed interest.
I had, because
okay.
I initially.
There we go. I was like, someone else that's not Alyssa. I was like, no offense, but I know who you are, so we'll see.
I initially suggested we do it because last year in February, when I was looking at how many resolutions we had, and when the board had pushed back the LGBT resolution, I was thinking, why would this be an issue, and how many resolutions do we have? And those two things, LGBT and disabilities, were the two things I saw that were gaping holes in the Fairbanks community that we weren't representing. So, this is something that I'm really, really passionate about too. But I just, I don't necessarily need to be a part of it. I just want to see that either someone's taking a lead on it and being the point person so that the rest of the committee can go to that person when we want to ask questions, or that we have a subcommittee. Because a lot of these resolutions, International Women's Day, it was a committee of a few of us. A few of the other ones that I've worked on has been a small subcommittee, just meeting a couple times and kind of nailing out the details. Or we can do it in the committee. Either way is fine.
I would, because of time constraints, I would recommend that drafts get floated before the formal meeting so that everybody has a chance to look at it. And if there's some suggestions to that, again, we're not tied to all of the rules and regulations of open meetings because of the way we're set up now, and we do have that flexibility. Now, any final decisions, of course, would have to be from the committee as a whole. But that was last meeting that took a while to wordsmith that. If we can get some of that wrapped up before would probably be a better use of our time, I think.
I am happy to be the point person or to be the point person to send out emails if other people want to be involved. So.
Elizabeth, you had indicated that you'd be interested.
Yeah, it's an issue I'm passionate about.
I'll just send out an email and then everyone can respond if they want to.
Okay.
I mean, I think it sounds like we want a subcommittee is what we're, and Rose, do you want to kind of be the chair of that subcommittee?
Yeah, that's
okay.
fine.
Cool. Sounds good. Just wanted to make sure we're like working.
Well, I think we would need a resolution or a motion for that. To create a subcommittee.
Okay. Motion to create a subcommittee for creating a resolution for a disability awareness issue.
Second.
Third.
So the motion is to create a subcommittee to develop a resolution supporting disability awareness event, whether it's a month or a day or whatever. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Unless anybody has any other comments, let's go ahead and move on. Any other new business? I don't hear anybody. So let's go ahead and move on again to the information part of this. And I just wanted to tell you I don't really have anything else to tell you about in terms of the district at this point, or I think I've spoken quite a bit. But at this time, I would like to welcome Elizabeth home to the committee. Some of us have met her in the past, and I mean, the committee was set up to hear a wide variety of voices within the community, both from the public, from parents, from administrators, employees, and it's great to have Elizabeth up here, especially to ensure that we get the North Pole angle on things, since a lot of us live up here in the Fairbanks area. So I do appreciate. Elizabeth, did you want to add anything? Okay. Does anybody have anything else they want to add in terms of comments? Yeah.
I always do that. I always hear, I'm not letting other people talk. I just wanted to say thanks to everybody. When we had the board meeting for the LGBT resolution, that was an extremely emotional evening for everybody involved. And I just wanted to say thanks to everybody that gave testimony, whether it was positive or negative. That was an extremely good example of how the public process should work. And it was phenomenal to see everybody that came out, period. Just phenomenal to see everybody. And, yeah. So I just wanted to say thanks. And to Alyssa for spearheading the effort, because it was really great.
I was going to say that too. I wanted to thank the committee and everyone that came out. It was really inspiring, and I think it shows the great work that teachers in this community do, that their students felt empowered to come and talk to their school board and share their own stories in a public way, when often the weight of sharing those stories, both with physical bullying and emotional bullying, can be heavy. And so I think it shows that our school district is doing a great job, that they graduate and within a year can come and talk in front of their school board. And also to thank Alyssa for all of her hard work around that in this committee, and then engaging the community and like having discussions with like a broad group of the community. So awesome.
That's a job.
Also, just real quickly, I did want to thank Tim Dorn, who's on the board, for his part in the wordsmithing of it all. Even though he's not here, I thought I'd give him a shout out.
He has a Google alert.
Did anybody else have anything else they wanted to add, to mention, to comment on?
just let us know when that NCBI thing is going to happen and what the process is going to be.
I said I had spoken quite a bit, but let me add one more thing. If you have ideas about the web page, I'm getting pressure, etc., to get at least the EEO, the Title IX, the diversity part up and running. So if you have any ideas, if you have any stories that you have that you want to float forward, by all means, I think you all have my email. Feel free to email me. It's david.rucker@K12northstar.org. So, since I don't hear anything else, or anybody else having any comments?
Happy holidays.
Oh,
everyone that's listening.
I guess we'll move to adjournment. Unless there's any additional business, do I hear any motions for adjournment?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing no no's, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.